Hello everyone, it's Seiji and welcome to a new series called Manga Review. So this episode will be a taste test. Basically what I've done is just picked up the first volume of a bunch of manga series and see if they're any good. And if they are, I will continue the series and then do like an entire review of it. So before we start, I would just like to show you what I'm wearing today. This is actually a new dress that I got from Miss Patina. So this is a UK-based brand that was created by a Chinese lady who came to the UK to study, and she created this brand providing people back home a livable wage, and also this brand is really big on sustainability. So I just really loved this dress, the colours, and also specifically the white collar looks really nice, and I think that's about it. So let's get to the manga. So the first one I have for you is Tonari no Seki-kun, or My Neighbor Seki. This was created by Takuma Morishige and translated from the Japanese to the English by Yoshito Hinton. The volume I got was actually the second one because the first one wasn't readily available, but that really doesn't matter because this manga doesn't really have that much of a storyline. Also, just a fun little language fact, the title in Japanese is kind of like a play on words. One of the main characters' name is Seki, which translates to seat. So it's kind of like Seki next to me and like the seat next to me. Okay, let's just get into the manga. So this is a great slice of life manga in my opinion. I actually got to know about this one a couple of years back when I watched the anime adaptation of it. Basically, it's about these two kids who sit next to each other in class. The girl is called Yokoi and she always tries to follow the lesson as much as possible, but her neighbor Seki is always doing weird stuff on his desk, and it really distracts her and irritates her, but at the same time she always ends up getting invested in whatever he's doing. And that is really what this manga is all about. It's really fun, really relaxing, and just all round wholesome. For me, reading this was great because it just brought back all the fun memories that I had from watching the anime. A good example of how every story kind of unfolds is the first chapter in this volume. They're in class and Seki is blindfolding himself because he's preparing to play this game called the Lucky Laugher game. And it's kind of like pin the tail to the donkey, but then with faces. And just seeing the first couple of panels really brought a smile to my face. What makes this manga so funny is the constant outrage of Yokoi. And just the sheer randomness and absurdity of what Seki is doing all the time. Usually the chapter starts off with Seki playing a weird game, and as the story continues, the game becomes more elaborate and outrageous. He starts off with one dude just trying to pin down his hair, eyes, and other facial features. Then all of a sudden, this guy turns into a delinquent. And after that, he gets a wife, they get a baby, and then you slowly see the mom and the dad separating, and Yokoi is just completely freaking out because she doesn't want them to separate. So she tries and keep them together, and then the baby grows up, and then it turns into a delinquent as well. And it's just so random and so funny. I also love the fact that there really isn't any dialogue between the main characters. Seki doesn't say a word, and as a result, there is a lot of misinterpretation throughout the entire story, and that just makes it even funnier. It's great how Seki is so absorbed in whatever he's doing, and how Yokoi kind of slowly gets invested as well. So if you're looking for anything that's really funny, very light, very wholesome, then I would definitely recommend this one. Then we have The Way of the House Husband, which is basically now my favorite manga. Oh my gosh, this is so funny, so great. I love this so much. This manga was created by Kosuke Ono and translated from the Japanese to the English by Sheldon Deska. So this one is about a Yakuza leader called Tatsu, who is also known as the Immortal Dragon. Also, for those who might not know, the Yakuza is a Japanese organized crime syndicate. Anyway, Tatsu is infamous for beating up 10 rival Yakuza factions within one single night. However, after this legendary battle, he meets a woman and he ends up marrying her, thus turning into a house husband. I am telling you, this is the funniest manga I have ever read. It is so freaking hilarious. Just the idea of a Yakuza leader turning into a house husband is just so ridiculous and brilliant at the same time. What really got me with this manga were the facial expressions. They were so funny. Tatsu's face is just incredibly menacing, and so people's reactions to him are just so funny. Like, I was drawn in from the get-go. At the start, you see this tough Yakuza guy with tattoos and stuff putting on his shirt and his knife in his trousers. And then he puts on a robe with, like, a huge bear on his... He puts on, like, a teddy bear robe, and it's so... And then he starts making lunch, and then he has like rice balls in the shapes of like a bear, and it's so cute. Okay, I need to calm down, but I really love this manga so much. The manga to me really just has the same vibes and like humor as, you know, One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100. So yeah, those are also like one of my favorite like animes and manga. But yeah, I think this would work splendidly as an anime as well, because it's just so over the top and comedic. It's just incredibly entertaining. Like, the best thing about this is how Tatsu treats everything he does as if he was still like in the Yakuza. The title also kind of insinuates it. Parallels are drawn between the way of the house husband and the way of the Yakuza. Like, for instance, for his wife's birthday, he buys her this figurine from her favorite show, and when he gives it to her, she's like, "Oh, thank you, that's so sweet, but I already have this one." And the thing is that when people in the Yakuza make a mistake, they have to like cut off one of their digits. So he just whips out his knife and he's like, "I take responsibility." And she's like, "No," and she like just slaps. She just like hits him and he flies out of the house through the window. And it's just so funny. I love this manga. Just a strong contrast between Tatsu's roughness and all the wholesome stuff that he does keeps the manga so entertaining. So yeah, I really hope that in the future they will make an anime adaptation of it. There is actually now a live adaptation that will be coming out, I think in October or so. I will leave a link to the trailer for those who are interested. Then I also read the first volume of Bungo Stray Dogs. So ever since I did that review on No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai, a lot of Bungo Stray Dogs fans have found my channel, and I kind of like got encouraged to pick up the manga, and I'm really happy that I did because it was really good. Thinking about it, a manga that is heavily influenced by both classic Japanese and Western authors is a piece of manga that definitely is right up my alley. Yeah, it was great. I had such a nice time reading this. There's this very nice mix of like very dark stuff and light-hearted things as well. If you know Dazai's life story, you can tell that Asagiri has such a dark sense of humor. Just to give you a quick synopsis, this manga is kind of like a supernatural detective bureau, and like all of the characters are inspired by, like I said, Japanese and Western classic authors, and most of them have powers that are also inspired by the works that they've written. Like taking the example of Osamu Dazai again, he has this power called No Longer Human, which basically cancels like other people's powers. But yeah, you have characters like Akutagawa, Soseki, Tanazaki, Gogol, Mark Twain. And yeah, this manga has also kind of inspired me to create this reading challenge called the Bungo Stray Dogs reading challenge. I know, incredibly unique. It's just basically me reading the pieces of literature that inspired this manga. And so far, I have read No Longer Human and The Setting Sun by Osamu Dazai, Kokoro by Natsume Soseki, and Japanese Tales of Mystery and Imagination by Edogawa Rampo. If you want to know more about this challenge, I have actually created a page on my website, and I will leave the link in the description box below. Then I also read Jujutsu Kaisen by Gege Akutami. This was translated from the Japanese to the English by Stephen Koza. I actually read this one quite a while ago. Last year I received an online advanced reading copy. I believe it's from Viz Media, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I thought this one was pretty good. It's about this guy in high school. His name is Yuji Itadori. He basically has superhuman strength. And having opted out of being in any type of sports club, he is now part of the occult club. And that eventually leads to him eating a cursed finger. I know this sounds really weird. As a result, he merges with this demon spirit, and this so-called jujutsu sorcerer takes him to a training school where he learns how to fight and defeat demons. So like I said, this was pretty good, pretty decent. It did kind of remind me of One Punch Man with like the superhuman strength and stuff like that, although the humor isn't that deadpan. Apparently the anime adaptation is coming out in October, so I am going to give that one a go as well. And then finally, I read Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. This was created by Iro Aida and was translated from the Japanese to the English by Alethea and Athena Nibley. I would say that this manga was quite alright. It didn't really have my sense of humor, to be honest. The story is about this girl called Nene Yoshiro who is in desperate need of a boyfriend. And there's this urban legend of Hanako-kun, which is to the Japanese kind of like what Bloody Mary is to the West, but like not completely. If you call her name, she'll appear and she will actually grant you a wish. Anyway, Nene goes to the toilet, she knocks 3 times and she calls out to Hanako-kun. But instead of a girl appearing, it's a boy, and apparently he is Hanako-kun. They end up teaming up, trying to help one another, and so this kind of like is an occult slice of life manga. Anyway, the characters were not that likable. I usually don't have a problem when there's a lack of character development in a manga, just because compared to prose, you already get so much from the illustrations. Though for me, there still has to be like another strong point besides the art, like for instance, the comedy in it, or like the storyline itself. And that unfortunately wasn't the case in this manga. The characters were pretty boring and annoying. The storyline was also very boring and repetitive as well. And yeah, the humor just fell flat. So for me, there was not really much to enjoy, and I'm actually quite bummed out by that. It wasn't like there was anything particularly bad in this manga, but there wasn't anything particularly good either. So yeah, it was just really mediocre to me. Now, which series will I be continuing? Actually, I picked 2, The Way of the House Husband and Bungo Stray Dogs. So the reason why I didn't also pick My Neighbor Seki was just because I'm trying to be a bit more selective. I have loads and loads of other literature to read as well, and in terms of humor, The Way of the House Husband is just way funnier, so I just had to go for that. And yeah, I already bought volume 2 and 3, they're in my room, so I will definitely be reading those this week. And volume 4 is not out yet, but I got an online arc of that one, so I will be reviewing that hopefully in a week or 2 maybe. And I ordered volumes 2, 3 and 4 of Bungo Stray Dogs, but those haven't come in yet. So that was it for the first episode of Manga Review. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the content that I make, perhaps consider joining my Patreon. I run a monthly book club where we read diverse classics. We just finished reading Ann Petrie's The Street, which was amazing, and now we're starting with The Aleph and Other Stories by Jorge Luis Borges, and so I'm very excited about that. You can also support me by getting me a coffee. Either way, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.